Hello everyone, and welcome to another Warcry battle report. Today's matchup will be Cypher Lords versus Splintered Fang, which was decided by none other than you guys. So big thanks go out to anyone who took the time to vote on the poll. I really appreciate it. With that said, let's introduce the warbands, draw some cards and get straight into it. For the Cypher Lords, the Hammer Squad will contain the warband's leader, the Thrallmaster, and 2 mirror blades with glaive. Their dagger squad will contain the Luminate and 1 mindbound with double bladed sword. And lastly, for their shield squad, it will contain 1 mirror blade with dueling swords and 2 mindbounds. Moving on to the Splintered Fang, their hammer squad will contain 1 true blood and 2 clear bloods. For their dagger squad, they will be bringing 1 venom blood with blade and barbed whip, 1 clear blood, and 1 pure blood. And for their shield squad, they will bring their serpent caller, his slivering friends, a venom blood with spear and shield, and a clear blood with shield. So with the warbands introduced, let's draw some cards. For the terrain card, I pulled this pretty open layout with 1 building in each of the 4 quadrants. And for the victory card, I pull Send a Message, which means that the warbands will have to roll off to decide who is the attacker and the defender, and that after the deployment card is resolved, the attacker gets to pick one of the defender's battle group, which, if it is taken out, will mean the win for the attacker. If this does not happen by the end of the 4th battle round, the defender will win. So for the deployment card, I then pull Strike from the Shadows, which means at the start of the game only both shield squads will be on the board. Both dagger squads will enter at the start of the 2nd turn, and both hammer squads will enter at the start of the 3rd turn. So, starting with the roll-off that decides who's the attacker and the defender, the Splintered Fang roll higher and they decide to be the attacker. Then for the deployment roll, the Cypher Lords roll higher and they decide to be the red deployment zone. This leaves the Splintered Fang with the choice of which squad to take out this game, and they will choose the smallest Cypher Lord squad, their dagger squad. Now, this still leaves us with a twist card, and for this game I pull Hunting Grounds, which calls for another twist card to be pulled with the Wild Creatures rune mark, and 1 twist card with the Environment rune mark. For the Environment rune mark, I pull Encircling Direflock, which removes the first wild dice of the game. And for the creature card, I pull Sinister Bargain, which will put a Fury into the game as a Thrall. A roll-off decides which party will get the Thrall, and after a tie, the Cypher Lords win the roll-off, giving them the Fury. And with that, all of the cards are resolved. And so after deploying the Fury within 4 inches of the Cypher Lord shield squad, we can get straight into turn 1 initiative. Starting with the Cypher Lords, they will roll 1 double and 4 singles. The Splintered Fang then roll 1 triple and 1 double. Due to the twist card, both warbands won't have any wild dice to spend this turn, meaning the first activation will go to the Cypher Lords. They will use it to double move one of their mindbounds and then use the double ability Throwing Stars and Chakrams. Because the damage on a 6 scales with the value of the ability, and their ability value is 6, they will use it to target the snakes, and with 2 lucky rolls they might be able to take it out in one go. Unfortunately for them though, they roll 2 2s, scoring not a single point of damage, ending their turn. The Splintered Fang decide not to engage with this and slowly start moving their fighters in order to immediately intercept the enemy dagger squad. They will start doing this by moving their snakes up to the board's edge. In turn, the Cypher Lords will double move up another mindbound. After which, the Venom Blood with Spear and Shield will also move towards the board edge, making sure not to leave a big enough gap between him and the snakes. The Mirror Blade with Dueling Blades is then going to double move towards this building in the hopes of securing a potential escape path for their dagger squad. The Serpent Caller is then going to use only 1 action to throw a throwing dart into one of the mindbound. Hitting on 3s, he scores 1 hit dealing 2 damage. He then uses his remaining action together with the Rush ability in order to also move towards the edge of the board. The Cypher Lords will then activate their Fury and double move him into melee range with the Serpent Caller. The Clearblood with Shield is then going to move into melee range with the two Mindbounds that have pushed up and uses remaining action to attack them once. Hitting on 4s, he does 1 damage. After which he will use the triple for the double ability Fanged Buckler, and dealing 3 damage on a 3 or up, he rolls 1 and does none. And that will be the end of turn 1 already. This means that the dagger squads for both the Cypher Lords and the Splintered Fang can now be put on the board. With a bit of luck, the Splintered Fang could end the game prematurely by getting initiative and doing some good damage on the enemy's dagger squad. So without further ado, let's see if the Cypher Lords dagger squad manages to escape in turn 2. For turn 2 initiative, the Cypher Lords roll 2 doubles. The Splintered Fang then roll 1 triple and 1 double. The Cypher Lords use their wild dice to make a triple, whereas the Splintered Fang will use theirs to try and claim initiative. A roll off ensues, and in the end the Cypher Lords roll higher, thus giving them initiative. They will use this to disengage and then move with their Luminate towards one of the buildings. Afterwards, the Luminate will use the triple ability Shadowy Recall, which lets the Luminate grab any fighter of the minion rune mark and reposition them within a number of inches of the Luminate equal to the value of the ability. The Luminate will use this to reposition the Mindbound with double-bladed sword far away from the danger. The Clearblood with Shield is then going to attack the Mindbound. He's going to use the Onslaught ability for this, and so on his first attack, hitting on 4s, he scores 2 hits, and then on his second attack, he scores an additional hit, dealing a total of 3 damage. The Cypher Lords will then send their Fury to attack the Snake Charmer. He'll be hitting on 5s and scores 2 crits and a hit, dealing 5 damage. The Snakes will then double move over towards the Snake Charmer and the Fury. The Mirror Blade with Dueling Swords then uses the Rush ability in order to be able to move into melee range with the snakes and then have still 1 action left to attack. Hitting on 3s, he scores 3 hits, dealing 6 damage, just barely failing to take out the snakes. After which, the Venom Blood with Spear and Shield is going to get nice and close with the Fury. He's then going to still have 1 attack action left, and hitting on 3s, he scores 1 crit and 1 hit, dealing a respectable 6 damage. One of the Mindbound is then going to attempt to take out the Clearblood with Shield. They will be hitting on 5s, and with their 2 attack rolls, they sadly only manage 2 hits, dealing 2 damage. Speed things up a little, I'll also be immediately activating the other Mindbound to attempt the same thing. As they won't be doing anything else this turn, it won't really matter when they activate, so I hope you guys don't mind this little bit of cheating. In any case, they will also be hitting on 5s, and unlike their predecessor, they actually score 3 crits and 1 hit, dealing a total of 10 damage, which is more than enough to take out the fighter. The Serpent Caller is then going to use the triple ability Snake Charmer in order to make the snakes attack the Fury. The snakes will be hitting on 4s, and with 2 4s they manage to do 2 damage, which is just enough to take out the Fury. After which the Serpent Caller will use an attack action to try to take out the Mirror Blade with Dueling Swords. He'll be hitting on 3s, and with 2 crits and 2 hits he does a total of 12 damage, which is more than the 10 health that the Mirror Blade has available, thus taking the fighter out. This still leaves the Serpent Caller with an action, which they will use to pursue the Luminate. The Mindbound with Double-Bladed Sword will just use their turn to move a little closer to the board's edge. This then only leaves the Splintered Fang's Dagger Squad unactivated, and I will activate them all at the same time and move them up into the battlefield. And that will be the end of turn 2. It seems that things worked out rather well for the Cypher Lords, as they managed to get their Dagger Squad out of danger mostly unscathed. It was quite lucky that they were able to spend the wild dice to make it triple while also maintaining initiative, even while the Splintered Fang spent their wild dice trying to claim it. The Splintered Fang are right on their heels though and are beginning to close in from multiple sides, So the question is if they can maintain safety for their dagger squad for 2 turns still. We'll find out soon enough, so let's get right into turn 3 initiative. So turn 3, starting with the Cypher Lords, they will roll 2 doubles. The Splintered Fang then roll a triple and 3 singles. The Cypher Lords will use their wild dice to try and claim initiative, whereas the Splintered Fang will use theirs to turn their triple into a quad. A roll off for the initiative ensues, and the Splintered Fang will turn out victorious this time. Their first activation will be the Serpent Caller, who will attempt to attack the Luminate. Hitting on 4s, the first attack scores a crit and 2 hits, dealing a total of 8 damage. The second attack then only scores 2 hits, dealing an additional 4 damage. After which, to make sure they get the kill, they will use the quad ability Rampage in order to attack again. With this attack they score 2 more hits, dealing an additional 4 damage, which is enough to take out the fighter. This leaves the Cypher Lords with only 1 dagger squad member remaining. They will have to protect the Mindbound with double-bladed sword at all cost. To do so, they will at least send 1 Mindbound over to the Venom Blood with Sword and Whip. They can move in position with just 1 action, and so they will use their remaining action to attack the enemy still. Hitting on 4s, they score a crit and a hit, dealing a total of 4 damage. After which, the Venom Blood with Whip and Sword will simply disengage and try to get as close to the Mindbound with double-bladed sword as possible, in hopes of attacking her next turn, also making sure to just be in whipping range. The Thrallmaster will then double move in to try and block some of the other Splintered Fang fighters. One of them being the Pureblood, he will disengage as well and try to close the distance between him and the Mindbound with double-bladed sword. A Mirror Blade with Glaive then hopes to move in and immediately take out Pureblood with a devastating crit value of 5. Hitting on 4s though, she unfortunately only manages 1 hit, dealing 2 damage. Definitely not the swift kill she was hoping for. The Clear Blood, body blocked by the Thrallmaster, is then also going to disengage and move towards the other Mirror Blade with Glaive to try and body block them. Another Mindbound then moves in to try and body block the snakes. The Venom Blood with Spear then responds by immediately trying to clear the path again by moving in and then attacking once. The Mindbound is already wounded, but he will still need reasonably good rolls to take him out in one go. Hitting on 3s, he manages to do 2 hits, dealing 4 damage, which is just barely enough to take him out. After which, the Mirror Blade with Glaive is immediately going to try to clear the way again, now with this Clear Blood in front of them. Hitting on 3s, the first attack yields only 3 hits, dealing 6 damage, but the second attack has a total of 4 hits, dealing 8 damage, and since the Clear Blood only has 10 HP, this final hit definitely takes the fighter out. There are hardly any fighters left, especially on the Cypher Lord side, so I'm just going to quickly move all of the Hammer Squad members of the Splintered Fang now. After which, the Mindbound with double-bladed sword has to do something, and they will move into the corner in order to not immediately get attacked next turn. This will, however, prompt the last fighter of the Splintered Fang to move as close as possible, that being the snakes. And with that, turn 3 will end. Unless something is done, the next turn there will be at least 2 Splintered Fang fighters that will be able to take a swing at the final Dagger Squad member. However, if they miss this shot, the Cypher Lord will win, as next turn is the last turn of the battle. So let's see if they make it through after rolling initiative. So, starting with the Cypher Lords, they will roll a double and 4 singles. As for the Splintered Fang, they roll a triple and 3 singles. The Cypher Lords will then use their wild dice to turn their double into a triple, and after careful consideration, the Splintered Fang will use their wild dice to try and claim initiative. This still means they are tied in terms of singles though, so they will have to roll off to see who gets it. In the end, the Cypher Lords win the roll off, thus they will get the first activation. The Thrallmaster will use this opportunity to first move into melee range with the Venom Blood with Sword and Whip. After which they will use the triple ability Shadowy Recall again, as they are now within 12 inches of the Mindbound with double-bladed sword, and so they will use this ability to safely extract the Mindbound with double-bladed sword from the danger situation they are in, and put them down on the board again within 6 inches of the Thrallmaster. This leaves the Splintered Fang with no possible way of getting to this fighter within the turn, or killing them from a distance for that matter, and so victory will go to the Cypher Lords. Okay, wow, that initiative roll for the Cypher Lords really came in clutch there. The fact that they were able to both have a triple and go first really saved the game for them. If that hadn't been the case, the only way I could have seen them win would have been if the Splintered Fang would have just been very unlucky with their damage rolls from the snakes and the Venom Blood with Sword and Whip. Now, admittedly, both would need to move still to get into range of the Mindbound with Double Bladed Sword, but they only would have had 10 HP to get through, and both of them crit for 4 damage. So I definitely think it would have been likely that the Splintered Fang would have won had they had the opportunity to actually attack. On a completely different note, I made a Ko-fi account, so if you would like to support the channel, you can make a small donation there if you like. Any amount is fine, to be honest, even like €1 helps, and all of the money will go straight back into the channel, probably in the form of new warbands. Of course, you don't have to do this, but if there's another way you'd like to support the channel, there are always the basic things you can do. So liking, subscribing, just sending these videos to other people that you know would like Warcry content, you know, all that stuff really helps out. So if you enjoy these battle reports, I would really appreciate it if you do any of those. With that said though, that's the end of the video. So I hope you enjoyed, and I hope to see you in the next Warcry battle report.